Florida State has been lighting it up on the recruiting trail lately, gaining 9 commits in the last 30 days or so and climbing to a top 10 class nationally. But with the season coming up in less than a month and recruiting kind of starting to slow down a bit, what's next for Florida State on the recruiting trail? Now we're going to talk about some targets for the Noles, some commitment dates coming up here soon. But first, if you're watching this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. We like to jump on here multiple times a week with recruiting updates, conference realignment stuff, media takes, all that good stuff. So if you're a diehard Noles fan, you're in the right place, and we'd definitely like you to stick around. Now looking ahead by just a few days here, Florida State has 2 targets announcing on August 3rd, one being 5-star defensive end Jared Smith, who I think is down to Florida State and Auburn. Now he's visited Auburn more, he's an Alabama kid, so you probably guess where that one is trending. But Florida State has still been a constant throughout this entire recruitment, and honestly, this recruitment has been really weird to me so far, especially these last 3-4 months. It's been really hard to get a pulse, in my opinion. Now, I do think the commitment will be to Auburn on August 3rd as of right now, but, I thought the same thing about C.J. Wiley and Malik Clark and ended up being pleasantly surprised. So I do lean Auburn right now, but who really knows for sure? Now, 4-star safety Ladarian Clardy was also originally announcing on August 3rd, but actually, as I was right in the middle of writing out this script, he announced that he actually wasn't ready and was pushing back his commitment. This is another one that Florida State has been heavily involved with and even led for at one point, at least in my opinion. Now, lately, this one has kind of seen the ebb and flow between Florida State and Ole Miss. I honestly initially thought that this one was leaning towards Ole Miss, but I know the contact with Florida State has increased in the last few weeks, and I think him pushing back his commitment date bodes well for Florida State. I think it shows that, they called and made things a bit more interesting. Like I said, they initially led in this one, and it'd be nice to see them steal him back away from Ole Miss and add him into the fold. Now, there's no new date set right now, but it does sound like he's still expected to announce before the season, though. So this will probably be another one that just kind of randomly happens in the next few weeks. Now, another DB I want to talk about is 4-star safety Bryce Fitzgerald. He announces his decision on August 17th, and this one here is a classic Big 3 battle between Florida State, Miami, and Florida. And guys, this is another one that's been all over the place. I think all 3 programs have led at one point or another. He's basically said as much. He's visited all 3 programs this summer. He's visited Miami the most, I think, but I still do get a feeling, at least as of right now, that the pick will be Florida State. Miami already has a couple DBs in the fold, while Florida State is still kind of building out that board and figuring out who to take, and I know Bryce is definitely a top target. So I feel like if/when Florida State pushes and essentially being able to be the top guy in that group, I like Florida State's chances. Of course, we're still a few weeks out, and some things can definitely change. I definitely would like to see him get back on campus before then, but as of now, I have some cautious optimism for Florida State. Now, you definitely like to see Florida State at least go 1 for 2 here. Like we said, they're still figuring out this DB group, but right now they only have Zay Thomas and Max Redmond at the position. Now, those are both guys we really like, but you still like to see a couple more additions made. Now, with all the DBs they took last cycle, I know Florida State isn't incredibly worried about that group right now, but you'd like to see them at least add 1 or 2 more, and I think they will. I know they're also in the top 2 for 4-star British DB Onis Konembani. Did I say that right? So definitely some names there to keep an eye on at defensive back. Now, at running back, we're hearing that both 4-star running back Byron Lewis and Usman Chroma could be announcing in the next couple of weeks, possibly August 10th for Chroma. Now, we've done a video talking about Florida State possibly being able to land both, and I still think that's very possible. Like we said then, I feel like it's kind of like a 1A and 1B situation, but I do think Chroma is the priority if there has to only be one. Like I said, I like Florida State's chances for both right now, so look out for potentially one or both to pop and join Tribe 25 in the coming weeks. Now, the biggest fish left on Florida State's board, we saved the best for last year, and that's 5-star offensive lineman Josh Petty, who's announcing his decision on August 12th. Believe it or not, it's down to us and Georgia Tech. He visited both last weekend, and Georgia Tech is his hometown school, and they've definitely made a major push here lately. But one thing FSU has is that his sister attends Florida State, and they're super close. So I really think that the family ties and relationships here will win out. I also think Alex Atkins and the development of offensive linemen that we've seen over the last few years is very impressive and really sticks out to these offensive linemen. Florida State also has 5-star Solomon Thomas committed, who is the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country, and Josh Petty is the number 2. So it'd be really nice to close this one out, add him into the fold, especially with 4-star Peyton Joseph as well. Florida State is definitely building an elite offensive line class. Again, he's announcing on August 12th, which I believe is also his birthday, if I'm not mistaken, and I do expect the pick to be Florida State. So a lot of big names, big dominoes to fall in the coming weeks, and if all goes well, the majority of the guys we just talked about will be future Noles. I think after this wave of guys and as we get into the season, Florida State will probably slow down a bit on their recruiting and try to get very selective when picking out the last few guys to kind of round out the class. They'll probably also be trying to work on a few flip targets, specifically at linebacker, but you're definitely going to still see a ton of visits in season for games and all that good stuff. But I wanted to jump on here and talk about the guys coming up that I expect to close out the summer. The Noles are hunting for a top 10 class here in 2025. Can they get it done? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the content, definitely drop a like and consider subscribing. I try to make this recruiting stuff as concise and easy to digest as possible for you guys. I know it can be a lot to keep up with, especially these days, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to know more about Florida State's unique recruiting approach to this cycle, going all across the country to build up their class, click this video right here and definitely check that out. And we'll be back with more real soon. Go Noles.